everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Hey guys, what's up? For today's video, I'm pretty excited because I'm going to be showing you 3 easy and healthy dinner ideas. All 3 of these dinner ideas are vegetarian because I kind of eat vegetarian. Really, I'm a faketarian. I do eat meat sometimes, but I like to eat vegetarian a lot of the times. And today's video is sponsored by HelloFresh. If you don't know what HelloFresh is actually a meal delivery service. So the way that HelloFresh works is each week you get delivered to your door, easy to follow, easy to cook, fun to make, delicious recipes. You get all of the ingredients that you would need, spices, produce, just everything you'll need to make the meal, as well as easy to follow instructions to make that meal. Now, each meal is around 30 minutes or so to cook, and I have been using HelloFresh for a while. I literally love HelloFresh. I feel like besides the fact that it's great if you're on the go and you're busy and you're trying to find ways to eat healthier at home, besides that, I really love HelloFresh for the education part of it. Every time I get my box, I feel like I'm taking a cooking class, but like in my home, because the recipes that they send me are always recipes that I've never tried before, or maybe have like techniques that I've never tried before. And so every time I get my box, I feel like I leave that recipe session being a better cooker than I was before I got the box. Besides the fact that they source the freshest ingredients, it's also given to you in exact measurements so you don't end up having any food waste, which is something that really bothers me and that I really care about, so that's really cool. If you want to give HelloFresh a try, which I highly recommend, you can use the code HelloNikki35. You'll receive $35 off of your first week of orders. I think you should try it out. Genuinely, I really think that. And without further ado, let's hop into these recipes.
All right, so we're starting off first with this silky oven roasted eggplant. Spoiler alert, this stuff was literally incredible. So here are all of the ingredients that you're going to need. You're going to need some quinoa, some peas, feta is better apparently, cilantro, some mint, eggplant, that's actually a lemon, it looks like an orange, but it's a lemon, and some sour cream. So I'm starting off by cutting up my eggplant. I cut off the head, cut the eggplant in half, and then I just proceeded to cut it into strips. And after I did that, I diced up my red onion, and I think I used the whole onion. After I did that, yeah, I definitely did use the whole onion. I spread out the eggplant on a baking sheet with some foil, and then I added the onions to the mix as well, like so. And then I drizzled some olive oil over the top, added some pepper, and once I added my spices, I just kind of tossed everything together to kind of coat it. And then I stuck it in the oven at 425 to roast. By the way, eggplant smells amazing when it's roasted. With the onion, it's so good. So then I put some water in a pot. I want to say it was like 3 cups, whatever the quinoa measurement is. Here I am clearly following directions. And then I poured my quinoa in the pot. Yes, I don't have a lid to my pot, just ignore that. And while that was starting to get cooked, I started to chop up my mint. Now, I actually typically really don't like mint, but let me just tell you, I loved it in this recipe. It's jumping ahead a bit, but yeah. And then I checked on the quinoa while I proceeded to cut up my cilantro. Once my herbs were cut up, then it was time to zest my lemon. Ooh, look at me zesting that lemon. And once I zested the lemon, I cut my lemon in half and I squeezed both sides into a bowl. Then I took the quinoa off in the meantime, and then I added some olive oil, and then I added all of my herbs, so the cilantro and the mint. Oh, actually, just kidding. I did a scoop of mint because I'm sensitive to mint, but I still did a lot of the mint. Added the red chili flakes, some salt and pepper, and then I stirred it up into a nice little sissy sauce. That's not a word, but a little sauce. Then I added the sour cream as well as a teaspoon of water, and I think this is because I hadn't added the other half of lemon, so I added the other half there. And then I whisked it together to create a yummy sauce. So once I did that, the veggies were ready to come out of the oven. So I took them out of the oven. They literally smelled incredible, and it was time to plate. So I scooped up the quinoa, the eggplant, and onions. I sprinkled some feta cheese on top, and then I drizzled my sauce. And guys, my mouth is watering all over again. Literally, this was so good, and I'm totally gonna make this many more times in my future.
All right, so I left out the peas in this plate because I'm not a huge peas fan, so I'm gonna go ahead and just try it. Oh, so good. so good.
Honestly, my reaction was pretty lame for how good it is. But next up, we're making this caramelized shallot risotto. I think this is my favorite recipe of the whole bunch. So these are all of the ingredients you are going to need to make this recipe: risotto, zucchini, parmesan, lemon, vegetable stock, shallots, garlic, and I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it, peeps. So I'm gonna start off by cutting open the shallot. This was the way that I peeled it. I'm not sure if there's like a proper way to peel a shallot, but I did it that way, by cutting it and then peeling it. And then I chopped the shallot into fourths. And once I did that, I took a piece of tin foil and I made it into a little boat. Now, this is actually one of those things I was referring to in the beginning when I said that I learn each time I cook with HelloFresh. I've never done this in my life. Oh, that's not vegetable stock. That is balsamic vinaigrette. That's right, folks. So once I put that in the little boat, I did the balsamic, some olive oil, some salt and pepper, as you can see. And then I kind of like actually tossed it a little bit, like you didn't see that, but then I put it in the oven at 425. And while that was baking, I filled up my pot with a few cups of water. I'm not sure how much. And that's right, that is vegetable stock. Wow, cooking game strong. And I put the vegetable stock in the water to boil. And while that was boiling, I proceeded to use a peeler to cut this zucchini into strips. Now, I actually messed this part of the recipe up according to how they wanted me to do it, but it still ended up working out well, but I just wanted to tell you that. So then I crushed some garlic and I cut open my lemon. And then I proceeded to melt some butter and some garlic in a pot, where I then turned around and sauteed my zucchini strips. Oh yeah. Now, this was the mistake. According to their recipe, I should have taken the zucchini strips off, but I thought I was making it with the risotto. So then I put the risotto in the pan with the zucchini. Normally you would have put the risotto just in the pan, but I had messed that up. So according to the recipe, I was waiting for the risotto to go clear. So I stirred that around, and then I realized that the scallops? What are these things called? They were done cooking. So I pulled those out of the oven, and then I started adding water to the rice. I'm realizing I didn't make that very clear. The water that I'm adding in is that vegetable stock water I had been heating. And Zoe was doing it with me because Zoe loves doing human things. And you're gonna wanna look up a recipe for risotto because you actually have to baby it for about an hour. No, an hour is not true. That's not true. Like 20 minutes. You keep adding scoops of water in till the rice puffs up and gets kind of creamy. So once I had been babying it and adding my water in, I proceeded to add the shallots to the mix, and then I added some more balsamic and the Parmesan cheese in as well. And guys, even though I didn't make this like the way they had it made in the recipe with like the zucchini strips, oh my gosh, homemade risotto is honestly so different from making frozen risotto. The creaminess, guys, the smell of this stuff, it just, well, now you're about to watch my reaction, so here we go.
Oh my gosh. Dude, it's so creamy. And the balsamic vinaigrette tastes amazing, and the Parmesan cheese, the shallots. I've actually never cooked with shallots before, and Dan and I both agree, right, Dan, that the shallots are amazing?
Please forgive Dan for his long, detailed answer to my question. No, but he loved it. So next up, we are making the recipe that I was the most hesitant about, and this is called eggs in a whole skillet. Oh yeah. So the ingredients that you will need for this recipe are as follows. We're gonna use some Swiss chard, some cilantro, garbanzo beans, curry powder, which I didn't end up using, cumin, bread, garlic, eggs, onions, and diced tomatoes. So I started off by chopping up my white onion like so, and I just cut it up into chunks in no particular way. I want to say like I diced it, but I don't know the terms for this stuff. It's just cutting up onions to me. So I cut up the entire onion and then I put it in a little ramekin on the side. And then I de-stemmed all of my Swiss chard. So I put all of the stems in a pile on the right because we're still going to use those. And I proceeded to chop those up finely, as fine as I could do it, which wasn't that fine, but pretty fine. I spent a good amount of time just chopping it up. And then I roughly chopped up the leaves from the Swiss chard. So once those were chopped up, I started up a skillet and I poured in my onions. Onions and olive oil on a skillet, oh, so good. And then I dropped in some coriander, that's what it was. And then I used cumin in replace, I don't think that's the way to word it, but instead of the curry powder. Then I put my garlic and diced tomatoes in the pan, and I just kind of sauteed those all around, let them heat up. And then I rinsed off the garbanzo beans and tossed that into the pan as well. Then I turned down the heat and let it simmer. And then I threw in all of the Swiss chard, the stems that had been chopped up, as well as the roughly chopped up leaves. And then I covered it and let it kind of just cook on low and simmer. So while that was simmering, I chopped up my bread and I put no oil or anything. I just put some salt and pepper on top of the bread, and then I stuck it in the oven at 425 just to cook up and toast up. So after my skillet had been simmering for a while, I carved out 2 little holes for the eggs. And I'm so happy that the eggs didn't break. Like, that was a rare success for me. And I broke the eggs in the holes in the skillet. This was so cool. I've never cooked anything like this before. I just thought that was a really cool way to cook. And then I covered the pot again so that the eggs could really almost like bake through. And while that was all baking and cooking up, I proceeded to chop up cilantro, stems and all, which is something I didn't know until this recipe, like people do, because I would chop up stems. I didn't know if that was right. Apparently you can. Makes sense. And then I brought the bread out of the oven, and then I plated the dish. That's it, guys. And oh my gosh, it was smelling amazing. And I scooped it out and then I topped it off with some cilantro. After that, to the plate, I added some bread so that I could dip the little, I could dip the bread into the little mixture, and it was just a nice compliment to the dish. And voila, eggs in a whole skillet.
Alright, so I can't lie, this is the dish that I'm the most scared of because I'm not a huge chickpeas fan in general, and the recipe originally came with curry, but I do not like curry, so I swapped it out for cumin. So I don't know what this is going to make the recipe, but I'm also pretty excited to try it. Guys, every time they surprise me, every single time. And I get scared every time too, because I'm like, is this the time that I'm gonna have to be like, yeah, not so good, but this is good. So good, guys. All right, guys, so that is it. I hope that you enjoyed these recipes. They were so good, and I ate leftovers from all these recipes for the next 3 days. They were all my meals, and they saved deliciously. I don't have enough good things to say. Once again, if you want to try out HelloFresh, I'll have a link down below, and be sure to enter the code HelloNikki35 for $35 off of your first week of meals. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will see you all very soon with another video. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already and you want to join my little family. And that's it, guys. I will see you soon. Bye.